it's not enough just to give people a megaphone. And that's why your power and your responsibility to dig and to question and to counter distortions and untruths is more important than ever.
A job well done is about more than just handing someone a microphone. But it's to probe and to question and to dig deeper and to demand more. Because while fairness is the hallmark of good journalism, false equivalency all too often these days can be a fatal flaw. If I say that the world is round and someone else says it's flat, that's worth reporting. But you might also want to report on a bunch of scientific evidence that seems to support the notion that the world is round.
This BS about the Earth being flat is getting out of control. Can you please help us?
All right, hold my sandwich.
Oh, sure. Okay, I'm sorry. Here, you take that. Here. You want? Oh my God.
The Earth isn't flat. And by the way, this is called gravity.
And with that, I just have two more words to say. Obama out.
Oh, this just got real, y'all.
None of it makes sense. The problem is that we're taught as children, this ball earth lie. And, you might ask as a child, what about the people in Australia? They're standing on the bottom of the globe, won't they fall off? And your teacher says, no, gravity. And you go, oh, okay. And you never go back to that question. But when you go back to it as an adult and start looking at it with a critical eye, right, the whole thing falls apart. As you say, the globe is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's a leading astronomer in America, tells us that the Earth is not a perfect circle. It is actually an oblate spheroid. It's squashed and wider at the equator. Yeah. So my question to him would be, why is there land at the equator? Because water will move more readily than rock. So if the Earth is spinning, the water will be collected at the equator. I mean, if you spin a wet tennis ball, the water shoots off at the equator, essentially. So all the water will be gathered around the equator. So why is there land at the equator? Doesn't make any sense. The other thing that's about the spinning Earth is looking at the stars. Now, directly above the axis of spin is the pole star, Polaris, okay, directly over the North Pole.
Звезда Северница, что вы каменья.
Right. And we're told that the reason that all the stars spin around the North Star is because the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Okay, seems to make sense, because if you put a long exposure camera pointing at the North Star, you'll see the stars will make perfect circles around, perfect star trails. The only problem is the Earth is also orbiting the Sun at 67,000 miles an hour. Okay, the Sun is moving, dragging the Earth and all the planets up that way or that way at 600,000 miles an hour. So why do we see perfect circles? Because that's the slowest speed, that's slowest motion in that mix, and yet the Earth is moving 67 times faster that way and 600 times faster that way. So you should see the stars do all sorts of strange motions, but you don't. You only see them make these perfect circles. That tells me that it's the stars that are moving, not the Earth. Right. Well, as you say, if a pilot is flying around the curve of the Earth, then he should be dipping the nose down every 5 minutes. He should be dipping the nose down to stay around the curve. But the thing that really got me interested was, as you say, the gyroscope. In a plane, there is an artificial horizon. Again, it's based on a gyroscope. And if you spin a gyroscope on a surface, it will want to stay upright. You can twist and tilt the surface as much as you like. The gyroscope will stay upright. So, if a plane has a gyroscope and it starts following the curve of the Earth, the gyroscope would stay upright, which means the artificial horizon will start to roll backwards. But it doesn't. That's absolute proof that a plane flies over a flat surface rather than a curved one. Because I asked the pilot on my last flight, do you ever notice the artificial horizon rolling backwards? He said, no, but the artificial horizon has complex electronics in it to make sure it knows where it is on the Earth and it compensates. But I went to the manufacturer of the artificial horizon, and they confirmed to me that it's completely mechanical, nothing electronic in it whatsoever. So it's literally just a gyroscope that can freely move. So that right there is proof to me that planes fly over a plane. Exactly right. The thing is, what the scientists will give you is calculations and and theories why that happens. But we have experience. We see things and they either make sense or they don't make sense. And what the scientists do is substitute our common sense and our intuition for calculations and theory. And we're supposed to believe the calculations rather than what we experience ourselves. There was a famous experiment back in the 1800s in England called the Bedford Levels experiment. Now, the Bedford Levels is a canal that is perfectly straight for 6 miles. Okay, so what a chap called Samuel Rowbottom did was he took a telescope, put it in the water about 8 inches above the water, and he had a friend, in a rowboat with a flag on the back, row all the way to the other end. And he was able to see the flag on the back of the rowboat the whole distance. Now, according to spherical trigonometry, the curve of the Earth is 8 inches per mile squared. So over 5 miles, that's 5 times 5, 25, times 8, which is 200, works out, that's 200 inches, which works out at 16 feet. That means the boat should have been 16 feet below the horizon. You shouldn't have been able to see the boat. Now, the scientists will say, oh, refraction and this and light bending around the Earth and stuff. But the fact is, it's perfectly flat. And he, in his book, he puts forward many arguments that show that, or many experiments that show the Earth is always perfectly flat.
Yes.
The limit of your vision is supposedly 3 miles. And then after 3 miles, you're supposed to see the boat start to go over the horizon. It's funny that Neil deGrasse Tyson again says that, explains that you can't see the curvature of the Earth from a plane. He says this, you can't see the curvature of the Earth from a plane because you're not high enough. The Earth is so big that you can't get high enough to see the curvature. Yet, you can apparently see a boat go over the curvature, over the distance of 3 miles, which doesn't make sense. But the thing is, when you look out and you see a boat start to go over the horizon, if you suddenly get a pair of binoculars and look, it comes back again. And once it goes out the sight of your binoculars, if you get a telescope, it comes back again. It doesn't go over any curve of the horizon. What we found, many people have done experiments with very high-powered zoom cameras, and they've watched the boat sail out to sea, and they've just kept trained on this boat. And what they see is, after a very long distance, you see an atmospheric effect where the bottom of the boat disappears and starts, and the top of the boat inverts, so you see a sort of mirror image. And that, with your eyesight, basically the bottom of the boat just melts into the horizon. so it looks like it.
Има
There's been a few famous examples just recently of a man who took a picture across the Great Lakes from Michigan and was able to see, I believe it's Chicago, which he shouldn't have been able to see. And the television station basically said it was a mirage. But they always say it's a mirage, but for a mirage to happen, you have to have very specific atmospheric conditions. And there have been so many people who have seen exactly the same thing on different days, different seasons, always the same. It's not a mirage. It's simply that you're looking across a plain. One sort of other proof is there's a place in Bolivia called Salar de Uyuni, which is a salt flat. It's literally 100 miles wide one way and 80 miles across. And it's perfectly flat. And when it rains, literally you get an inch of water and it looks like a perfect mirror. Now, how does that happen on a sphere? Yeah, it shows you that, if you're one end of this salt flat, you can see perfectly clearly the other end 100 miles away. So it's just showing you that the Earth is flat, and without the effect of the waves in the sea, you'll be able to see a whole lot further. The other thing is, if you were to go to NASA and download one of their photos of the Earth in the moon's sky and put it in Photoshop, okay, drop the saturation and the levels down, you'll see that the Earth has been pasted in, because you'll see a rectangular box around the Earth. It's all fraud, it's all fake. Pretty much everything NASA puts out is fraudulent. There are no images of Earth from space. The only one that NASA actually claims is a photograph was from 1972. And it's the famous picture. It's got Africa sort of near the top, and it's the same picture they've been using for the last 40 or 50 years in every textbook. Every other image is what they call a composite. It's Photoshop, and many of us have been looking at these images of Earth, including the one they called the Big Blue Marble, which was released in 2002, I think. Again, when you zoom into it with Photoshop, you'll see where they've used the clone tool in Photoshop to take a picture of one of the clouds and stamp it in various places around the picture. And they got lazy. In another image, they've even Photoshopped the word sex in the clouds, which is a subliminal tool they use to get people to sort of relate to something. They literally, you can look at this and you can find it on NASA's website.
Zašto to ne upravo?
It would be very simple, wouldn't it? It would be very simple indeed to just silence everybody, put an end to this topic once and for all, turn the Hubble round and show us Earth in real time, zooming in onto a place so that we can see what's happening at that place, and we know that there is something up there looking down on us from space. But they will not do it. They can't do it. It doesn't exist. It literally doesn't exist. Well, that's absolutely right. When you go onto the plane tracking software, you'll see hundreds and hundreds of flights over the northern hemisphere, and you can track those flights from beginning to end. When you look at any flight in the southern hemisphere, what you'll find is the flight takes off and disappears off the tracking, usually about an hour after takeoff, and then later on will reappear an hour before landing. Now, there's no explanation for it. I mean, the point is that distances are very different, and distances and flight plans are very different on the flat Earth than they are on the ball. And when you look at flights in the southern hemisphere, they make some really crazy, sort of deviations. So, right, well, just recently there was a case of a woman who was pregnant on a flight, and she was her waters broke on the flight, and I think it was from the Philippines to Los Angeles. And again, if you look on this map, you're from around here somewhere to here. Okay. Now they were flying across, and literally her waters broke and they had to divert, they had to land. So instead of either going back to the Philippines or going on to Los Angeles, they landed in Alaska. Which again, if you look on the flat map, it's again a straight path from the Philippines over Alaska to Los Angeles. The other thing, again, flights from Santiago, Chile to Los Angeles. Santiago, Chile to Australia, right? Will usually stop in Los Angeles. Again, you can see on the flat map that it's again a straight path. And if the only thing that would sort of confirm it or disprove it would be GPS, but you know, hey ho, GPS doesn't work in the southern hemisphere. I don't think any flights actually fly directly over the North Pole at all. I think they skirt the North Pole, but I don't think they fly directly over the actual pole. So I don't know if it's to do with magnetics. The only thing I do know is that nothing flies over the South Pole, because again, on a flat map, the South Pole, the continent of Antarctica, is the ring around the Earth. So you know you can't fly over the ring and get anywhere. That's why we're not allowed to go there. Well, I mean, think about it. It's the only treaty that's all these countries have signed and never broken and completely agreed on. It's the only one. And, you know, what treaty is there that everybody's agreed on? We're being kept away from it for a reason. You know, they have some scientific bases there, yeah, and literally it's controlled by the military. If you try and go there by yourself, you will be sort of picked up and escorted back. There was a guy called Jarls Anderhoy who tried to take a mission to the Antarctica, and he was picked up and taken back by the military. It's a good reason because they don't want you finding out what's beyond. The truth is out there. The truth is beyond the edge of Antarctica. The other thing is, after Admiral Byrd came back after his last expedition, Antarctica was sealed off, and both America and the Russians started firing nuclear missiles straight up. Now, in America, that was called Operation Fishbowl, and it came under something called Project Dominic. Well, Fishbowl makes sense because it seems like Admiral Byrd found the edge of the dome, okay, while he was out there, and as soon as he left there, they started firing missiles straight up, I believe, to try and test how far that dome went. If you look at the footage of these explosions, what you'll see is an explosion. Well, when a bomb goes off in mid-air, it's a fireball. It expands in all directions and mostly up. Okay. Now, if you look at these explosions on Operation Fishbowl, they explode outwards in a ring, which means it's exploding against something because it can't rise with the heat. So it's exploding against something and exploding outwards. Okay. And the middle of the explosion, you'll see it glows, hot, and then it cools over time. So it looks to me like they were exploding against a dome. Now, I said it was Operation Fishbowl, obviously Fishbowl, but there's a chap called Rob Skiba who discovered that the Project Dominic, the word Dominic means of the Lord, Fishbowl of the Lord. So I believe they clearly know that we're in an enclosed system, and Admiral Byrd found the edge, and they've tested to see how far it goes up. It's not right because they will also say that if a sniper is trying to hit something a great distance, a couple of miles away, they have to take into consideration the spinning of the Earth, because they say that as the bullet leaves the muzzle of the gun, it's now independent of the rotation of the Earth. So the Earth will spin away from where the bullet, and you have to take that into account. They say that about artillery shells as well, that it's not true. If that was true, a sniper would have to spend ages and ages calculating how to make that shot, and they don't. They literally take into consideration the wind and the elevation, and they don't take the Coriolis effect into consideration at all. Also, planes. If that works for bullets, if bullets, as soon as they leave the Earth, they're now independent of the spin, then why doesn't it work for planes? Yeah. There's a video on YouTube that actually tries to explain that the Coriolis effect works by using the example of a paper plane. You have to throw it. If you throw it north, the Earth will spin and the plane will land sort of east. But if you take the idea of a real plane, a plane would have to aim north to go east in that case. But that's not what happens. And if that was the case as well, planes would have to land on runways that are moving, and that would be impossible. They'll never ever get to their destination. And how is it that a flight from
if you go reverse.
But how is it that you can take a flight from London to New York and it'll take exactly the same time as a flight from New York to London? Yeah, one's with the spin of the planet and the other one's against it. So it doesn't make sense. They'll say that the whole atmosphere is moving, with the planet, but that doesn't make sense either, because the atmosphere, say it's that thick, the top layer of the atmosphere will be moving slow, and as further you get in, will be moving faster. So how, if everything is moving like that, how do you get a light breeze that blows against the spin of the planet? How do you get a breeze that goes from north to south? Yeah.
Kako duva vetar, znači kontra od движения.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. And again, science will give you calculations and esoteric ideas, but you can go out and look for yourself, and you'll see what makes sense and what doesn't. The other thing is that we have senses to be able to sense acceleration. You get in a car and somebody puts their foot down, and you get thrown back in your seat. You can feel the acceleration. You can feel changes, very minute changes of acceleration. So how is it that if you live up here in Macedonia, which is spinning at maybe 700 miles an hour, because the speed it's spinning is slower than this speed. So if you took a flight down to Africa, on the equator, why don't you feel the change in acceleration? Oops, sorry. Why don't
They're calling you from NASA.
So why don't you feel the change in acceleration? You have these senses that will register the slightest change, but you get off the plane there and you don't feel dizzy, because now you're moving a lot faster. So, no, it doesn't make sense. There is no argument. I mean, just looking at just looking at a balloon in the air, literally, in a distance, you should see the balloon actually start tilting over. If it's moving away from you, again, it will be. If it's moving away from you, it will tilt with the Earth. You should see a distant balloon tilt over. You should see a city in the distance with its the skyscrapers tilted away from you. You never see that. You never see anything tilted away from you, which you should see. If you can see, like Michigan, from Michigan to see Chicago, as I said in that earlier example, the buildings should have been tilted away, but they weren't. They were straight up. There's so much. There is so much to this. As I said, if you start looking and asking questions about the very basic things, you'll find that the answers you were given as a child just do not make sense. So the idea there is that it must be a globe because the sun. If the sun's here, then it's got to be dark on the other side. Well, the thing about the sun is that we're told it's 93 million miles away. It's not. It's actually something around 3,000 miles away, and about 34 miles across. That might sound really crazy, but if you look at look out on a day that's got broken cloud, you'll see that the sun rays will come out at an angle. Most people have seen this. The rays come down at angles. If the sun was 93 million miles away, then all the light will be coming parallel So if you imagine, there's no way to show 93 million miles, but something way, way over there, all the light that reaches this globe will be parallel. There's no way that light can come that far and spread out like that. Now, if you follow those light rays, you'll see exactly where the sun is. And as I said, it works out to be about 3,100 miles. Now, if that's the case, and the sun is circling over this flat plane, yeah, its light range is limited, so it's illuminating the part of the Earth it's like over at the moment. So, say over Europe, it might, or over South America there, it's over there. Well, Australia's going to be in the dark because the sun isn't going to throw enough light to illuminate Australia. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, most people say, well, I see the sun rise and set. How can that be if it's just going round in a circle? Well, that's perspective again. If you actually see video of the sun coming up and going down, many times you'll see that the sun starts off as it's coming up very, very tiny, and it gets bigger as it gets closer to midday and then gets smaller again. It's literally that effect of perspective. You know, with some things above you, like the ceiling in a hallway, yeah, as it goes further away, it will seem to sink down towards the horizon until it disappears beyond the limit of your sight. And that's all you're seeing. You're seeing literally the sun circling overhead, but seeming to set. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, but first thing it does, it starts falling down. It starts following that curve that we see if we throw a stone. Yeah, it's what goes up must come down. And literally, we have not ever seen anything that has ever gone up and not come down. We've just been given, and you said it actually quite nicely. Disneyland is right next to there, and Disney and NASA.
Entertainment.
Yes, Disney and NASA have worked very closely together. Disney worked with NASA on the moon project. Yeah, they made it, they filmed it so that it would be entertaining for the masses. Yeah, and they're still working with NASA so that we believe.
What do you think about Stanley Kubrick testimony?
I saw a fake one recently. There was a fake one that did the rounds, but I absolutely believe that Stanley Kubrick, filmed the moon landing. I think that
in Pinewood Studios in London.
Yes, and I think that he left a few clues just to say so that
like Michelangelo.
Yeah, so that we eventually would know that this was his work. Yeah, I did this, there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, you start looking at the evidence.
Kako je možno znamето na mesečината да се вее како да има ветер?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to it. How can there be so many multiple light sources? How are all the shadows converging? And when they show the so-called sun, yeah, it's a big light bulb. It's a joke. It was meant to fool people in 1960s. Right. So you got like clear footprint, but yet you don't have an impression where the pads of the lunar lander were. Or a blast crater where the engines were blasting downwards, and also the camera followed the capsule straight up, mm-hmm. Right, and it followed it very precisely, right, and it stopped when it started to pitch over, right. Now, NASA says, we did it remotely. Well, there was a 2 or 3 second delay between sending signals and the camera starting to respond, and then another couple of seconds for them to see what's happened. So it's next to impossible to get that sort of accuracy with that kind of, and it's only done once. I mean, they can't sort of keep doing it over and get it right. They do it once and they got it right the first time. So no, it's either they left an astronaut on the moon to film them, or it was fake. It was fake. It was absolutely fake. First thing that's been hidden over the years. I mean, we're all driving petrol cars because 100 years ago, the Standard Oil, it was Rockefeller, yeah, the Rockefeller family basically cornered the market on oil, and the car industry was going electric. So, all cars would have been electric from the get-go, but they basically forced everybody to use petrol cars and have hidden this secret. And literally, we could be running around in electric cars that have unlimited mileage by now. But we're still using these 100-year-old machines, dirty machines, because of a secret that's been kept. It's easy. If everybody's been trained into believing that this is real, right, and there's space, and it's within our interest to explore space and go to the moon, go to Mars, yeah, people will pay for it, and they're making billions. And yeah, there's more to it, because I believe there's a big deception coming, and it's to do with aliens, because now, since Roswell, 1947, that was the first time anybody had ever understood the idea of aliens. But since then, we've been bombarded with science fiction and the idea of aliens, and most people believe there are aliens out there. So they've prepared us for an alien invasion or an alien saviour. And I think the flat Earth came along at the right moment to educate people, to make people believe or understand that we've been lied to. And if you know, as I know in my heart now, that is real, this isn't, I will not be fooled by aliens coming, because there are no aliens, there's no space. Yeah, it's all fantasy by Disney and NASA. Well, the Bible has a very, very clear view of what this place is, and it matches that place more than it matches this. Okay, and what it says is the great deep is under it, just water. It's just deep water, and above the firmament is water. And it says in Genesis that he separated the water below from the water above and made a space, and then made dry land appear out of the water. So what's under the flat Earth? Well, it's water, and it just goes on. Again, I don't know for sure, because I've not been under there. I don't know what's past the outside of, or the first few hundred miles of Antarctica. But everything I've seen over the last year and a half tells me that is true and this isn't. And I'm starting to believe and trust my intuition about this. One thing I was going to say, which is totally off topic, but the topic I really want to go to is that ordinary people, have become scientists through this. Okay, the science community is ignoring a lot of the things that we're looking at, and so normal people are going out and doing experiments. And one of the experiments has turned up an amazing fact that we've not been told, and it destroys the whole idea of this heliocentric system, and that is the moon. If you get a piece of card, put it on the floor, and you put another piece of card to act as a barrier for the moonlight. So you have the moon above, card on the floor, and a piece of card in front to shield half of the card. Yeah. Now a lot of people have these laser thermometers. Now you can actually measure the temperature of the moonlight next to the temperature of the shade of the moonlight, and you'll find the moonlight is colder than the shade, the opposite from the sun. So the moon is throwing out its own light, and that light is the opposite from the sun. Now, that tells you that it's not reflecting the sun's light. It's producing its own, and its light is different from the sun's. So, the scientific community have not told us this. Yeah, because they won't tell us this, because it destroys this idea that the sun is lighting up the moon. Okay, that's a big question.
The main question.
Well, as you said, this idea that billions of years ago nothing exploded and then everything came out of that nothingness, ridiculous. But they try to make you believe that the idea that a supreme being, a creator, created this is ridiculous compared to that idea. I mean, if you look at it objectively, I would lean towards a creator, because there's so much that points to the fingerprint of a creator. but it's no less ridiculous than nothing exploding and becoming something. In my opinion, the Big Bang theory and the theory of evolution and the ball Earth theory are all interlinked, and they're all there to make us feel as though we're insignificant. We're small, tiny,
Miniature.
unimportant pieces of slime crawling around on a speck of dust in an infinite universe. If that's true, and there's no purpose, there's no meaning to anything, then our owners can do whatever they want with us. Then, this is all accidental, so food can be genetically modified because it's imperfect. We can be modified because we're imperfect. If we realise that this is the universe, and
Complete universe.
yes, this system is
everything.
Is everything. Everything that NASA has put out is CGI, is fake. Okay. People say, I think you mentioned it, if you look out into the universe, you see that the moon is round, spherical, and the planets are spherical, and so why are we flat? Well, how do you know that the planets and the stars are spherical? All you get is, if you look for a telescope, you see a flat disk. If you think you see a spherical shape there, well, it needs two eyes to resolve 3D. If you're looking for a telescope, you can't see anything in 3D. It's going to be flat anyway. So all you see is a flat blob of light. It's only NASA that's given you these beautiful pictures of so-called planets and stars. Yeah. So it's a fallacy to say, well, everything else out there is spherical, so we must be. This is special. So why? It's like saying a basketball is round, so why isn't the court round? It's a fallacy. So this idea of a ball Earth, theory of evolution, the Big Bang, is all about making us feel nothing, so that we can be used. If everybody realised how special we all are, how unique every single life is, then this whole world would change overnight. We wouldn't allow ourselves to be used by this cabal. We wouldn't allow this planet to be destroyed. Because they're destroying it because, it's just an accidental planet, one of millions. We've found other Earths. Eventually, if this one gets too messed up, we'll go to another one. No, this is it. So if we all realise that, then we wouldn't allow all these things that are going on. This is amazing because when I first started looking, it was about a year and a half ago, I looked on YouTube and there were maybe about 100 videos, not even that probably, and nobody was talking about it. Right? And then over 2015, it exploded. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of people looking at Flat Earth now. And what happens is that you'll watch something or read something, and something will strike a chord in your mind, and you'll think, yeah, I've always wondered that. And what will happen is you will start feverishly researching. What happened to me was, as soon as I got that, I spent every waking hour looking for things and testing things, and this seems to be replicated with thousands of people around the world who suddenly come into this. They start researching and getting a passion for this, because this is what I think, it's the truth, and we recognise the truth when we hear it, and we feel it, and this I believe has come at the exact right time, so that we awaken to what's going on in the world. Nothing else, 9/11 even hasn't awoken people, right? To this extent, For me, I've been an atheist for 40 years. From the age of 13, I didn't want anything to do with God and Bibles and whatever and religions. And now I know for a fact there is a creator. I've seen his fingerprint, not just with the flat earth. Everything I've done in the last 5 or 10 years has led me to see that there is a creator now. And and there's a great many people out there who have had exactly the same revelation as I have. And it is. I'm now following the commandments and trying to be the best human being that I can be, because I think it was a guy called Kent Hovind who said there are only two possibilities. Either there is a God or there isn't. And both of them are terrifying.
Yeah.
If there isn't a God, then nobody's in control. We're hurtling through space and there's no plan and there's no nothing, and that's terrifying. If there is a God, then we'd better find out who he is and what he wants and do exactly what he says. And it turns out that he gave us very specific instructions on how to live. And they're not rules as in laws that you must follow because or put you in prison if you don't. No, these are rules to live by, to make a harmonious world. Don't harm anyone, don't kill anybody, don't steal from people. Don't covet people's items.
Don't lie.
Don't lie. I mean, these things are written in our hearts anyway. Yeah, but we're in a society that legalizes all of the 10 Commandments. Policemen and soldiers can kill. They're allowed to kill.
Politicians can lie.
They can lie.
They're lying all the time.
They're lying all the time. Police have been told that they are allowed to lie to try and get to catch somebody. Yeah, they're allowed to lie. Everything in the 10 Commandments is legalized in this society. It tells you who runs this society. Yeah. So yeah, this is a profound movement. I don't like using the word movement, but it's a profound shift in consciousness for people, because unlike any other topic that's come out in the last few years, this one has made people realise that they've been lied to. Human history is a lot stranger than most people realise, and the thing that is going to be difficult for some people is that it's biblical. Everything that's going on now is biblical.